Right, I'll try to be quick because I'm meant to be working, right? But I was working, just not what I'm employed for. Anyway, right, so I was listening to TikTok this morning and it was like I kept on hearing all this stuff about chakras. And I was like, chakras, what do they mean to me? Because people talk about them all the time. They need to be aligned and stuff. But what do they actually mean for you, right? So then I started on PowerPoint and I started getting my own answer. So basically what happened was I was thinking of an analogy, and I've often said to people, well, it's all well and good if you go to church, etc. And you can be as godly as you want, as spiritual as you want, to get aligned as you want. But if your church is your place of worship, then really your church is whatever you worship the most, right? So an analogy that I've often used is where you have, say, a child. You have a man and his son or daughter, his child. And he says to his child, be good, be good. And the child's like, well, what does that mean? What does be good mean? And daddy's like, well, examples of being good could be to go and pray and to be thankful and to have gratitude for these things. And the child's like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, so you want me to be good. So I must pray. So I'm going to go and find the angel that's going to answer this for me, right? Because I'm praying. So kid goes off and it's like the angel within, you know, that stuff that like you informed me of that came from my parents when I wasn't even in them, because that vibration that where I was once a sperm, where I was once fluid, transmitted all that data to me to create me to be the replica of them. Can you take from that database and basically show me holographically, if you must, show me what it is that prayer means to daddy, what being good means to mummy, show me the impressions that they received from what they had in their environment that now become my impression and therefore my expression, and I can show mummy and daddy just how good I am. Right, okay. So there may be a problem with this, because if one worships, I don't know, as an example, porn every day of the week, goes to church that once a week, the kid is not assessing what it is you're looking at. The kid's not assessing where it is you worship. The kid is only taking in what it is that shows the most intensity, the most strength, and it's condensed into that impression of what good is, right? So as I was doing this presentation, I was like, oh my God, this is actually quite good, right? It actually moves more into unified field theory. But anyway, so basically it was saying that, Daddy, Daddy, I've got the answer, because the child is in effect the answer to the parent. What I mean by that is all the hopes and dreams of that parent are in that child. That child is the latest edition, the latest version of the projection of that parent's blueprint. So everything that that parent did prior to conception, it's all downloaded into the child. And so the child essentially becomes a concrete version of history, of that parent's history, and their parents' parents, and their parents' parents. Conception doesn't occur at, or life doesn't start at conception. That child was once part egg, part sperm. That part egg, part sperm was once, I don't know, dust, whatever the backwards version of all this stuff is. But anyway, right? So the kid gets the answer and it's like, Daddy, look at this. We will feed each other because now I'm showing you good. You tell me what good feels like more and more and more, and we're connecting again more and more and more. So you don't even need to tell me, you just need to feel it, and I'm with you. So when you think I'm asleep and you've got the iPad out, I know what good feels like. Anyway, right? So I was like, if your church, as I've said, your place of worship is this thing and you're taking it in through your eyes, then the chakras are likely, because impression becomes expression for that child, it's likely reversed. And so where we have our root chakra at our base, as it were, it's the kid's crown. So I'm like, oh my God, this is actually really cool. So basically it's cyclical. We recycle each other. And so when the kid starts to feel good in certain areas of its body, if daddy thinks with his reproductive system or down there, then the child will receive the intensity of that particular impression and it will become the child's expression. So if the child perhaps is connected to daddy's crown chakra more than, or daddy thinks a lot more, or is more spiritual, it may be that child feels they need to do more, not necessarily in a compensation way, but more in a, yeah, I'm active, I know what I'm doing, I can feel what I'm doing. And then if daddy is somewhat insightful when it comes to the third eye chakra, then the child may be more intuitive, more emotional, because it will correspond with their sacral chakra. And we start moving down and down and down. But what happens when daddy is intently focusing on that reproductive system and that is his main thought, then that essentially becomes what the child does eventually. But besides that, if daddy reiterates that with language that enforces and I suppose makes pillars of the structure that is formed by daddy's activity in the reproductive system. And may I add, it's not just daddy. I think we've all done it. It's women, men, whatever other genders you choose to ascribe or subscribe to. End of the day, the kid is going to express it regardless. And if, like I've said, if there's a reiteration that comes through speech, then the child is likely to not just will it, but be it. So the lesson I learned just from putting these little graphics together is that the heart really is the only way that you can be true to not just yourself, but those that come from you and before you, because it's the only full correspondence. Everything else is upside down, in and out, but the heart moves heart to heart, which is, I suppose, why it's considered so incredibly strong and has a field of its own, as has been scientifically proven. Yeah, so I'm just going to whack this presentation on, and hopefully it will make sense to you as you watch it, if you even watch it. But I just wanted to do it for myself. I thought it was quite fun. It was also somewhat sinister in many ways, but it's colourful, so that's okay. Lots of rainbows.
So here we have Daddy, and Daddy is speaking to his son one day and says, "Be a good boy." And the child's like, "What's good?" And Daddy says, "Well, when you do what other people ask you to do, and politely, when you have manners, all the conditioning that we're often given when we're children." And it just so happens that church is a big feature in this family's life. And Daddy says, "Well, shall we pray about it?" And the child's like, "Pray? Good. I've heard these words, but what do they mean to Daddy? Because they seem to be hugely significant. He really is investing quite a lot in this. So I have questions." See, the thing is, I am the answer to Daddy. As Chanel has already said, I hold the blueprint to what Daddy contains inside. All that he's ever thought he's discarded, all that he's ever kept down, all that he's never said or done is all sitting in me. And so I am the answer. I know I shall retrieve it. And who better than the DNA fairy? Oh, angel of DNA. Can you please give me the answers as to what Daddy understands to be good? And what is prayer? And the angel of DNA says, "Well, I can get you the answer, but it means I'm going to have to go a good few layers into you to find it, because we know that when you came out, you contained everybody else. And so now we need to unfold from the envelope that you are all of the people that can help you answer that question so that you can show Daddy when you project it from you." And so the child's like, "Okay, well, how's this going to happen?" And the angel of DNA says, "Well, we'll go as far back as we need to once the question's answered. And whilst Daddy sleeps, you can send it to him with your brainwave. And the older you get, this is the offside of it, the older you get, the closer you'll get in frequency to Daddy. But until then, the term sleep like a baby, it actually means something because you'll be on the same wavelength. And so Daddy can see the very same images that you see. And then in Daddy's waking hours, he can feed your sleep and therefore your subconscious and send the message back to your people in your lineage." And the child is like, "Oh, you are amazing, angel of DNA." So anyway, so the child goes back to Daddy and the child's like, doesn't say this out loud, of course, because the child is not as articulate as one would want them to be and does not have a command of the English language as advanced as us adults. But inside, the child is saying, "I've consulted our ancestral and genetic database, and since you asked the question and therefore needed an answer, and I am the answer, but needed the language of our lineage and their experiences of the subject matter, so you'll understand it one day, Daddy, and you'll recognise it, probably when I'm older, and you wonder what went wrong because you didn't think of Uncle Johnny the pervert in 1869 since you lost touch when you grew up. But he loves when you visit his frequency when you think I'm asleep. That's when he wakes me up to let me know he's there." Anyway, let's cross-check the data. Now, let's find what matches with how much. Everyone who holds a bit of the puzzle of be good is here. Don't worry, the numbers will dwindle the more we drill down. Only the ones who prayed in your church will stick around for the gathering. You're crowned to my root. Spiritual. Well, yes, Daddy is spiritual. I experience his spirits all the time in the way he acts. When he's happy, when he's sad, when he's around family. Question is, which family? Ah, there's Uncle Johnny. Right, Daddy must want me to be like him. There's my future deeds sorted out. I can feel it in my base. Next! So there's my base, my root, my future deeds as far as they're concerned. Next. The third eye. Well, that's how Uncle Johnny gets here. He likes the sound of what goes through Daddy's eyes. The heat goes through my root, making it orange, and I definitely won't forget the feeling now it's stored in my impression centre. Ooh, next. Oh, I've so many other people's thoughts going on here. I have to really concentrate to know what are yours, Dad. But Uncle Johnny brought a few other ancestors that fit the mould, so they're helping me to tune in. You mightn't see the results of this particular download for a while. It does take a while to go concrete, but Uncle Johnny assures me the lads are hard at work to make this a reality. Next! Ooh, I must be on the right track. You just said the F word, the C word, and a few others, but Uncle Johnny popped up straight away. He's delighted. He's happy. He feels good. And that triad, thought, word and deed, means my confirmation triad pops up all at once. Hear, see, speak. There's my expression. Remember those 3 monkeys, Dad? Question answered. I've found God. Now I know where you spend the most of your time and passion. Oh, even if you have more questions, Dad, Uncle Johnny's brought a whole community to guide us and bridge the gap between what you do and what I do. So when I grow up, I can make even more Uncle Johnnies. Daddy, I want to be just like you when I grow up. And Daddy says, I love you, son. Straight from the heart. The one centre they share for eternity, calling up eternity from their genes to be forever present in their given capacity, assuming that capacity is Uncle Johnny's, but it doesn't have to be that sinister. It could be anything else, but this is just an example. I tend to look on the dark side. So the kid's like, shall we pray, Daddy? Your church or mine? Doesn't matter. We'll alternate anyway. You know, on, offspring, on, off, on, off. So yeah, that's my take on chakras at the moment. And okay, it may, like I said, touch on the field of universal field theory, probably spiritual possession to some degree, genetic expression, and psychological and emotional impression. Like I've said before, I'm open to learning, but that's just my take.
Yeah, so my take is, right, that essentially chakras are compressors and decompressors of sensory projection. So they, through the senses, or inform the senses as to what it is that you're experiencing. And the memory of the heart, which has been scientifically proven that it has its own memory, is basically the connector. So it's like, I know that information, I'll extract that from you. It will be compressed in our field, and then it can be projected and we can all see it. Isn't that great? Depending upon what your place of worship is. Which is why when people mock the psychic ability that I have claimed to have, which I haven't, by the way, but I certainly do get a lot of insights into other people's information, but unwillingly, but it happens because that field is accessible as well. But anyway, yeah, that's why when people are like, well, if you're psychic, tell me, and it's like, you really don't want to know what I've seen. You don't want to know. Or I get, well, if someone's psychic, why don't they win the lottery? And it's like, well, you know what? My numbers just happen to be so connected to numbers of use, numbers of dialing, numbers of clicks, numbers of absorption through the eyes. And so I tend to see what people keep in because, like I said, impression is expression. And the more you compress through impression, i.e., repress and sometimes suppress, then I get to see it more because I tend to see the inside of a person outside what they believe to be accessible. So yeah, I'm like the porn psychic. Okay, so yeah, being that porn psychic thing, essentially, I'm ahead of the expression as well, which is why I get people's thoughts, particularly around desire. Now, it's not always around sexual desire, because money can generate the same type of energy, the same type of vibration. And so all the seven deadly sins, essentially, I am fully aware of in people who are apparently living. But there's also just a question that I have, right? I wonder with this theory, if it's supported by, when like mummy and daddy are feeling a bit frisky and it's like the kids are asleep. Why is it the kid walks in, bang, literally, oh, at that very moment? Do you think there might be like they're receiving the call, that the transmission and broadcast is being received by them, and therefore it's showing an established connection between parent and child? Beautiful. Oh, another thing actually. So, when like you are watching certain types of porn, perhaps you're straight as an example, and you watch a lot of gay porn, um, then your child is aware of what your desire is and aware of that conflict in desire. And when I was speaking about methylation patterns, I think that's something that certainly does support what it is I'm speaking of, where it's like, you've told me to be good, but I know what your good feels like. I still don't know what good actually is. I just know by your feeling. And you're telling me that this is not good, but I know and remember internally, even if I'm not cognizant of it, what pleases you. I know your pleasure, Dad. I know your pleasure, and I'm going to be that pleasure for you, because I realize and I know and I feel in my heart, because your heart has committed to what it is that you've desired, that that's what it has to be. It has to be. I'll make it for you, Dad, because I love you.